So there's this new Arrow 4K UHD release of this action Christmas movie that has a decent sense of humor going with it. And this is a film, I wasn't aware that it was a Christmas action movie. It's kind of in the vein of, say, Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, kind of Christmas type of flavor going on with it. And when Arrow announced, they do a little, when they announce their releases, they do a little tease, and they put out like a picture of this kind of Christmas coat, and I was like, I wonder what movie that could be. And then they announced it, and it was this, the Long Kiss Goodnight, that stars Geena Davis and Samuel L. Jackson. But I was like, is that the movie they're talking about with the Christmas coat? Is that the tease? And then, of course, here in the background, you see these Christmas lights, which is like, okay. And so as I watched the film, again, it's like Die Hard or Lethal Weapon. But Lethal Weapon was actually written by the same writer, but it has Christmas stuff going on in it. Now, this is a 1996 film, and it is a first-time watch for me, and I'm going to talk about my impression of the film here in a little bit. And I'm also going to talk about the 4K transfer, and I'm going to rate the film on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Now, if you could do me a favor and go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. This film, The Long Kiss Goodnight, now, it was directed by Renny Harlin. Renny Harlin is known for directing mostly action type of films. He directed Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone. Now, recently, Arrow released another one of his films, Deep Blue Sea. Now, I did a review on this. You can check that out on my channel as well. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put a link down in the comment, not the comments, in the description below, where you can take a look at this review. But here, this in comparison to this disc, this is a much thicker disc than this, and this is still considered an Arrow Video limited release. Now, sometimes it's unclear when Arrow releases these limited editions if you're going to get the big box or like a slim, like with a slipcover. Now, I've gotten a little bit better eye for this now. When they are released, I can kind of look better at their pictures and understand it better. I recently got this one here, Cruising, which is also just as thick as the Deep Blue Sea. But I've gotten a little bit better eye when they're releases. You can also tell by the price point. These are going to be a little bit higher than these, even though I caught this one on sale at a pretty damn good price. Now, what was interesting about Renny Harlin, now during this time period, a year before this, he was trying to kind of develop like a female action star, and he put out Cutthroat Island, which didn't do well in the box office. And it also starred Geena Davis, who was his wife at the time. And here he, again, brings Geena Davis into the mix, trying to make her an action star. I really like Geena Davis. She's in one of my favorite movies, which is Beetlejuice. And she's amazing in this. And I like her persona in this. And I like her, and I'm going to talk more about her performance here in a little bit. I do like her in Cutthroat Island and Long Kiss Goodnight, but I don't know if audiences weren't necessarily ready for a female action star at this time. Or maybe Geena Davis was miscast. Not too long after this, around 2000 ways. Now there were a slew of female action star films like Lara Croft Tomb Raider that stars Angelina Jolie, and the Charlie's Angel films. Now both of those did really well, and they even got sequels. Made a lot of money. This Long Kiss Goodnight underperformed at the box office, and I think the audiences maybe weren't quite ready. Now, there is a very interesting thing going on in this film, especially between the chemistry and the unlikeliness of pairing the Samuel L. Jackson's character with Geena Davis's character. That's really like a strong point to this film. And now, what's interesting about the script, which was written by Shane Black. Now, Shane Black had written Lethal Weapon and also The Monster Squad, and when he sold this script, it was at the time it was the highest paid screenwriter for a script, which is $4 million. And there's interviews with him, and he says that it was a good thing at the time, but he had got like a lot of other writers like very envious of him, so he had a hard time working for in script writing for a little while after this, but it was a major thing that he sold his script for so much money. So this film, according to the back of this, has a brand new 4K restoration by Arrow Films from the original 35mm negative approved by director Renny Harlin. And it's presented in 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, and on the front here you see it does have HDR going for it. So this is a brand new 4K transfer, and it looks quite stunning. I really like the Christmas colors in this. They do a nice job with the props and the wardrobe. And there's a lot of exterior scenes that take place in the snow during the day, and they do like what's interesting when you see Geena Davis maybe wearing like a red hat, and it just kind of pops in the red coat. It kind of just pops in contrast to the snow. Later on in the film, Samuel L. Jackson's character wears like a green coat. He puts on like a green suit, and that looks really it looks really great in 4K. The colors look fantastic, and also with these kind of sweaters and these knit hats they have on, you can see the textures. Like in this 4K, there's such an uptick in the quality of it and the detail that you see a lot more detail in the textures of the hats and sweaters, and even on faces you can see a lot more detail in people's faces. It looks terrific. They've done a fantastic job on this 4K restoration. It doesn't have what in the 2000 kind of time frame where they started really color grading things and making things look kind of unnatural colors. Everything looks like a natural color. Even when you got outside night, they don't do like a lot of times you'll see a more traditional type of blue filter over everything, but they're all lit natural skin tones. They look very, in HDR, it really makes these skin tones look even more natural as you're watching it. Most of the time these scenes are lit from like they're in whether they're in a city or they're in an area where it's lit by some type of light. So you're not really have scenes, very rare do you have scenes that are lit with the moonlight. When I was watching it, I wasn't thinking, okay, it's not blue. When I was looking back over it just to double check everything, I was like, that's interesting. They don't have the blue grading over the exterior night scenes, which there are a pretty good bit of exterior night scenes in the later half of the film. In the first half, there's a lot of exterior days, and there's even when you got the interior day stuff, everything looks very naturally lit. They don't do like the tungsten like lighting on the faces. Everything looks HDMI lit, where it looks at natural skin tones. The blacks here are very deep. You see decent shadow detail. Everything. You don't see a lot of problems with the film grain. There's film grain here. You can see it, but it's not overwhelming, and it doesn't draw your attention to any type of film grain throughout. Even in the dark, shadowy areas, you don't see too much grain unless you're just looking really hard and trying to find the film grain. It's there because it was shot on film, but it's not overwhelming, and it's not even noticeable unless you're just looking for it, like I was when I was like looking through the movie the second time, and not when I was watching it, because when I was watching it, I was watching the film, but and it was the first time I saw it, and so I was just like, this is a very well paced film, and the director does a great job of creating depth in these shots. Like, so you're inside of a house, you got some foreground, and you got like deep into the house, like more Christmas decorations and stuff in the background. So he's got a good sense of creating a very big type of depth, and a lot of these scenes are pretty damn big. I had a decent budget, and it is an action film, and so everything looks very. The density levels here are fantastic, and the clarity is good. So let's go over the plot a little bit. I'm going to try to keep this kind of short, but Geena Davis plays a character who has amnesia. She doesn't remember who she was before 8 years before the film starts. She has a new name, Samantha Kane, and she's been trying to figure out who she was before that. And she's with another guy, and she was pregnant at the time, so she's got a kid, and she's about 8 years old, and she's with another guy who seems to be fairly well off, and he seems to be a very patient and friendly, nice guy. But she's been using his money to hire private detectives to try to figure out who she was. And one of the private detectives, played by Samuel L. Jackson, named Mitch Hennessy, and he's the one that kind of figures it out first. He kind of gets a lead, and then she ends up getting noticed on a television. She was in a Christmas parade, and then someone from her past, a convict, recognizes her, and then suddenly people are trying to kill her. And Samuel L. Jackson comes and takes her he takes her and they go on a kind of a road trip trying to figure out why people are killing her and things of that nature. And most of the movie is that. It's kind of like her and Samuel L. Jackson and the journey trying to figure out who she was, and then these other people trying to kill them, and they're in a very dangerous situation. And both characters are handled very good. It's kind of like, say, like Lethal Weapon sort of films or another 48 Hours. We put two unlikely type of people together, and they kind of develop not necessarily a friendship here, but they are kind of trying to help each other. Now, eventually, though, it's gonna, like, she's got amnesia, so she ends up being like a spy or something like that, and it's very similar to, say, the Bourne Identity with Matt Damon, which came out later in 2002. But the novel for the Bourne Identity was written in 1980, so that was kind of floating about. So it's possible that Shane Black kind of based this a little bit off of that with a female action star instead. So, and one thing I don't like about it, especially in the later half of the film, and I was really enjoying most of the film up until this happened. Now, right away when you find out she's got a daughter, I'm thinking, please don't have somebody kidnap the daughter and then they have to get the daughter back. And then, of course, it doesn't happen for a long time in the movie, and then it finally does happen, and it's like the last half hour of the film is all about trying to get the daughter back, and it really ridiculous stuff happens with the daughter. Like they kind of help. The daughter actually helps her a little bit, which kind of that helps a little bit. But then the daughter gets away, and then for some reason she's trying to hide, and she gets in like the cargo, like, little box of this truck, and the truck happens to be this bomb that these terrorists are trying to explode stuff with, and it's just like, oh no, we got to go chase the truck. Now, not to say it does, I just really don't like that I don't like that plot point in movies. Now, this may have been an earlier version of that plot point. It may not have been a cliche at this point, but I just don't, it just annoys me to no end. But it doesn't destroy the whole film for me, but I didn't really care for that part of it. But there are some pretty cool chase scenes during that part, and some pretty cool explosions and all that. And there's some good fight choreography in this film, so it has a lot going for it. And it's really all this action stuff is held together very nicely by a pretty well written script and good drawn characters. Especially Samuel L. Jackson's character is terrific. He's a private eye who's kind of down on his luck, and he always makes the wrong choice, and it's just it's kind of one thing that's kind of a little frustrating about that is he so many times his character should have gotten killed, and he keeps not getting killed. So maybe a few too many times of that. But he's very, very likable character, and I think Samuel L. Jackson does a terrific job here. Geena Davis also does good work. Like I was saying earlier, maybe she may be miscast, but she does good work, and it is written in a way that it's believable that she could play this character, because now she is a housewife in her new identity, and then once she starts to become this assassin, she used to be an assassin. Once she starts to become that, she dyes her hair blonde and looks different and starts acting different, and she does a good job of it's almost like a schizophrenic thing. Like, she got two different personalities in this film, and they're kind of both against each other in a way. It's very destructive. Her assassin personality is very destructive. So that's she does a great job, really, as in these two different parts. And I think it works just because of the way that she looks at. She is believable as a housewife, maybe a little bit less believable as the assassin, but it's still her transformation. Her acting of the transformation, even her look with the blonde hair and the change and stuff, it actually works pretty good. So let's take a look at the physical copy of this. So it is a limited edition with a slipcover. Now, I noticed online when this was released, or they released the cover art, a lot of people were not liking it. There's very vocal not liking it. I don't know. I kind of like the silhouette and all the Christmas lights in the background and the explosion. I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much as it does a lot of people, apparently. Maybe I can get this out of here. Hang on. All right. So here we are. Same cover art on the front of the inside, and there is a reversible slip that has the original poster. We'll take a look at that here in just a second. Here we got the 4K disc, and there is a Blu-ray disc. Now, the Blu-ray disc does not have the movie on it. It just has a bunch of extras, and there is a lot of new extras produced specifically for this release. There's not any interviews with anyone higher up in the production, not with the director or the main actors or anything. But there is a pretty good bit of new content produced for this release. Here's a sticker. It says "No skating. Skating prohibited. Thin ice by the order of Chester Man Parks Authority." This is not related to this film. It's an upcoming release. Here's Samuel L. Jackson in that green coat I was telling you about, which is a fantastic wardrobe there for him. I guess that's on the back of it. It says, "This is Merry Christmas, motherfucker." That's great. That's the only card in here. I thought there was more than that. Here's the booklet. It has a gun, World's Best Mom, Christmas cup, and a knife, and you got a Christmas tree ornament. I really like the fact that this does take place around Christmas. There's Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis, and there's Geena Davis as the spy character, or the assassin. I don't know why I keep calling her a spy. I guess she's more of an assassin. There's some essays in here. Here's a picture with Brian Cox and Samuel L. Jackson. Now, Brian Cox has a supporting part in this. He's not in it that much. It also has a supporting part by David Morse, but both of those guys aren't in it like a heck of a lot. For this, the transfer alone, I think they did a terrific work on it. Now, I haven't seen this film again. It was the first time seeing it, but I don't have anything to compare it to. But I think the transfer in general, I thought the film looked terrific. It looked great on my TV. The 4K and the HDR was really just popping. You know what I almost forgot? I forgot to show you the reversible insert of this that has the original cover art for the film. And here it is. And it's very blue. It's not very Christmassy. I like that better. I might even this might even have been cool. Like this, something like this. Let's go ahead and rate the film. Again, this is on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. I'm going to give the film 3.5 stars. I did like it. I didn't like this last half hour of it. I thought it started like going downhill once the daughter is kidnapped, and then after that the main villain, or one of the main villains, like drops a big load of exposition about what they're doing and why they're doing it, while they think that they're gonna have them, like I guess they think they have them killed, and they just tell them the whole plan, and it's a little over the top. Now, Shane Black, especially with this Lethal Weapon during this time period, he's very good at writing these action comedies. Now, they're not. It's with comedy in it. It's just not comedy, haha, but it's just the sense of humor that goes into it, and the fondness for the characters, and it really shows in the script. And I think the plot points of the script are very exciting. Now, I think maybe some of these things are now considered cliches. This is maybe the earlier versions of them, but it's very well paced. And I think what really helps you is the characters, and especially the performances here by Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis. They both bring a lot to their performances, and they kind of they have a good chemistry between them. As now, it's not really like that type of romantic chemistry, like maybe that was originally written that way, because apparently the character was originally written more like that, more like a potential love interest maybe, but it is more of a friendship that develops, and I think it works really well. All right, so let's go ahead and rate Arrow's release. I'm going to give it a 4-star rating. Now, it's obviously not as thick and as nice as a box like this, but I think it's kind of cool the way they do different versions of some of the releases, because it makes it, when you get a big one like this, it makes it more special. And this limited edition slipcover, it looks very nice, and I think more than anything, the presentation with the 4K transfer and HDR, and even the extras that they've done specifically for this release is all very impressive. And if you would do me a favor, again, if you would go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.